Good morning, Sydney. Hello, Anthony. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well on this rainy Friday morning here in Chattanooga. Glad to be here with you and excited to get to hear all about the latest within, of course, your space. Let's get into it.
Well, we're taking a little bit of a departure today. Instead of just writing about the companies we always write about, we're going solo. Okay. Happens to be the title of the newsletter. This is a company called Solo Advanced Technologies, Advanced Autonomous Technologies. Company that, to be truthful, I passed on when they tried some news a few months ago. I thought, well, this is a company that's raised $7 million, which is really not very much money in this space. But I decided it was time that maybe we circle back. It helped that they offered me an exclusive today to show their videos, which you have there for whenever, on what they're working on. Now, this is CGI, okay? This is not anything they've actually built at this point. But they are looking at trying to make this whole electrification and autonomy thing work together without a driver. And in fact, in this case, as you can see, without a cab. I mean, it looks like a truck, but to be honest with you, it is a rolling battery, a very, very large rolling battery that gets about 500 miles in a single charge. Now, these are all claims at this point. They've got to build this stuff. They've got to validate it. Here's some video of sort of what the charging and the freight loading would look like. They claim that any trailer will work. They've got sort of everything going on. Now, are these guys legit? I would say certainly from a background perspective, they are. The CEO, Graham. Why can't I remember Graham's name? I'll stand for the moment here. Is basically a veteran of Waymo and of Google self-driving car project. Before that, he's got the pedigree from Stanford in mechatronics, comes out of Carnegie Mellon, which is, of course, a hotbed of autonomy. So he knows his stuff. He also thinks that the industry today has got it all wrong by trying to do autonomous trucks on existing vehicles. So he said to do this right, you've got to start over. You've got to have a true ground up platform, not just one where you're working with an existing chassis and trying to electrify it, or in this case, fit in the autonomous software. So this is where we went today. It's kind of an interesting essay, I guess, in terms of what they're doing. He's got, again, very strong comments about some of the things that are going on, even looking at, say, Too Simple, which is really your clubhouse leader right now as far as autonomy, because they were the first to take a driver out of the cab. But he said, you know what? They're all focused on software. They're not looking at, what is the right platform to run this on in terms of a vehicle. So they get their 15 minutes of fame from me today. I feel like they're probably going to be heard from again. They've got a round A fundraise come up in June. So if they get the money, maybe they can get there. They say they've got people lined up to invest. So we'll see.
So the $7 million, do we know exactly what that would go towards? And if they're raising $7 million, you talked about them maybe raising more?
Yeah, they have the $7 million now. That's what they've raised so far. They only went into business last September, so they're very, very new in the space. The $7 million basically bought them a couple of test mules, vehicles that have been. I think the new word, I'm going to start using this word because it's cool, called repowered. Basically, you pull the combustion engine out of the vehicle and you retrofit it with batteries and with electric motors and so forth. That is what they've got, is 2 test mules right now. Today's stuff that we just showed, of course, is all computer generated. It doesn't really exist at this point, but they are trying, and they're not the only one to do something like this, really. There's a company out of Sweden called Enride that has a thing called the Pod, and the Enride Pod, while not quite as aerodynamic as what we just showed, is the same principle. That is, it runs autonomously from hub to hub, and then it has teleoperations, humans running it, joystick, if you will, when it gets there. And that's sort of what Solo is looking to do as well. We saw another vehicle also from Sweden that Volvo had a few years ago called Vera, which was essentially a cabless trailer hauler. And, it's the same principle. You do this work, the idea being that it's done with teleoperations rather than human drivers. And so, the whole idea, though, is to get these trucks to run on electricity rather than on diesel. And again, we're so early into the whole autonomous space. It's not surprising that the the vehicles, whether it's a Peterbilt or a Volvo, they're going to run on diesel because that's what they have right now. California won't stand for that forever because they're going to make everything be electric at some point. But for right now, that's where we're at. And, the solar people, at least Graham feels like it's wrong-headed. We need to start over, clean sheet.
And Alan, you just hit the nail on the head right here. We're just so early on within this space. It seems like there is just sometimes a lot of, resetting expectations, and then we're pushing back the goalposts a little bit more with certain releases or certain benchmarks and with certain expectations for autonomous vehicles. Do you see any solution looking a little bit more promising than the other from these different approaches?
Well, I think, you do have a good point there, Anthony. You do have different approaches, really two. You've got one that says, let's make an original chassis off of an existing truck and set it up to run autonomous software and hardware from the ground up. And then you have others that are doing plug and play type approaches. The two that come to mind there, of course, are Embark Trucks and Kodiak Robotics, both of which, are about integrating software systems and hardware into existing trucks. I think what we're seeing, and we saw it this week when TuSimple announced its first quarter earnings, is that it's probably the timeline is too aggressive. TuSimple pushed out its ground up truck with Navistar to 2025 from 2024. I think you're going to see this slow down a little bit. It's just, we're breathless, right? We think it's going to happen tomorrow. It's not. It's going to get pushed out. I think this, when you look at your leader, and I've called TuSimple the leader for a while because they were the first to do a driverless pilot. But if they're slowing down, then arguably others are too. We're still getting plenty of announcements. We've got, USX today is aligning with Embark Trucks to, put its properties into the Embark system and become part of its partner network. So we've got all these quarter turn kind of announcements that are still coming. USX, it's interesting now, has got 4 partners in autonomy. They started with TuSimple, then they went to Aurora, then they tied in with Kodiak and now Embark. So, they're just testing the waters. They might get some extra freight capacity out of it, if they're getting some loads hauled by these other companies' trucks. I mean, that's all the better, right? But I feel like we're going to see it slow down a little bit. That seems to be the direction that we got out of TuSimple this week.
Alan, before we let you go, anything else you think you'd like to note, especially from Solo? They piqued your interest this week. Any other reason why?
Well, I think I've been sort of corresponding with them for a while because I do pass on something. Sometimes I say I'm passing, sometimes I say I don't. But I give them credit for kind of staying with me and coming back around. I thought when I talked to them that it was a good truck tech topic rather than going out there and putting it out just as a news story. Although we'll present it that way on the website today. But I feel like they may be onto something, and if they are, let's not miss it. Let's not be dismissive of things that could be coming. This is not city technology that we're going to see on the roads before the end of the decade, if then. And we have to continue to sort of look out. And Anthony, I don't think I really answered your question about what technology or what approach is best. I'm not sure I know the answer to that. I'm not sure I have a favorite. Arguably, like I said, TuSimple has done more, in terms of both mapping, high definition mapping of interstates for their autonomous freight network. Others have done various things. We had a discussion with Plus, which was one of the first companies we dealt with yesterday, and they're kind of stepping back a little bit to that level 2. It's called ADAS or Advanced Driver Systems, which really isn't full autonomy. It's kind of semi-autonomous, but it may be the right thing to do for right now. I mean, they can actually make money selling their systems. They're level 4 high autonomy systems, but they're governed back to run as level 2 systems. And the thought there is simply that it's something to do now. You can actually do this today, and all the OEMs have got their own sort of level 2 systems now, and the technologies that go with it. So we'll see. I mean, are we hitting the pause? No, I don't think we're hitting a pause button, but I think we're going to slow things down a little bit.
Got it, Alan. I think that's very well put. It's always exciting to see new technologies, kind of how they look to expand and grow in different fields. I think of sometimes things like cell phones. They were really quirky and strange in the early days before they kind of settled on a couple of the similar form factors. So looking forward to see how this one plays out. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Have a great weekend.
You too, Alan. We'll see you in Arkansas. Right now, we're going to go over to the wall because we have, Sydney, our first shipper update.
Our shipper update. Let's hear it.